Okay, my friends, there are 4.5 big stories. I'm not sure that one actually qualifies as a big story. It's kind of a subset, but we'll try to get through this as well as we can. The first story doesn't deal directly with Ukraine, but there's an eerie parallel between what we're seeing in Venezuela and what we're actually seeing about 5 months ago, 6 months ago in Russia. Okay, so President Maduro has now expanded his lead in Venezuelan exit polls to 24%, says Jackson Hinkle. Well, Jackson Hinkle's always rooting for the bad guy, but did he really expand to that? Because at the same time that I saw that, I was seeing this. Michael McFaul, who I trust on these kind of matters, not even close. Gonzalez won, Maduro lost. Next question, will Maduro recognize these results? Second question, will Democratic leaders encourage him to do so? And here's the results of the exit polling. 65% Gonzalez, Maduro 31%, and then the single digits. And now that was just exit polling, but still, it didn't seem even close last night. Venezuelans celebrating the fall of Maduro's regime tonight. Here's some more celebration of Maduro's loss in Venezuelan elections today. Dictator Nicolas Maduro, backed by Russia, Iran, Cuba, will try to prevent the democratic opposition from coming to power. Will the tyrant succeed? Dictatorships, all of them, seem mighty until they finally fall, says Jason J. Smart, who's a pretty authoritative source. Now, that's what's going on. Now, remember, Maduro came after Hugo Chavez, and then I saw this a little over an hour ago, AP reporting entrenched incumbent Maduro is declared winner of Venezuela's disputed presidential election. Well, that's because he controls the mechanisms that are controlling the dispute. So here we are, Caracas, Venezuela. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro was formally declared the winner of his country's disputed presidential election Monday, a day after the political opposition and the entrenched incumbent both claimed victory in the contest. Who declared him the winner? The National Electoral Council, which is loyal to Maduro's ruling party. So there's some shenanigans, it looks like. Announced his victory, handing him a third 6-year term as the leader of an economy recovering from collapse and a population desperate for change. Does that sound familiar at all? Because it should. Okay, a little bit more. Venezuelans in the entire world know what happened, Gonzalez said, but he and his allies asked supporters to remain calm and called on the government to avoid stoking the conflict. After failing to oust Maduro in 3 rounds of demonstrations since 2014, the opposition put its faith in the ballot box. The elections were among the most peaceful in recent memory, reflecting hopes that Venezuela could avoid bloodshed and end 25 years of single-party rule. The country sits atop the world's largest oil reserves and once boasted Latin America's most advanced economy. But after Maduro took the helm, it tumbled into a free fall marked by plummeting oil prices, widespread shortages of basic goods, and hyperinflation of 130,000%. That's some hyperinflation. Okay, so it sounds very parallel, and it is. And Maduro's regime is one that's pretty cozy with Putin's regime, and there we are. Okay, second big story. Breaking, 18 SAS members killed in Ukraine, says Douglas Macgregor. Okay, so consider the source. Now, Douglas Macgregor, whenever he posts on Twitter, he rarely cites his source. Here is one of the few examples where he points to a YouTube channel, but I'm not sure that that's the most accurate channel. 18 members of the British Special Air Service, that's like the Special Forces in the U.S., and French Army soldiers were killed in a strike on Odessa. A retired Spanish Army colonel said there was an attack on Odessa in which 18 members of the British Special Air Service, SAS, were killed, he said on a YouTube channel. According to the colonel, another 25 members of the British Special Air Service were injured, and they tell me that the French soldiers died. These are not mercenaries who are French. No, these are soldiers of the French army, he added. Okay, now Macgregor also said this more recently. Ukrainian army is taking a beating at the front and in the rear areas where Ukrainian troop and equipment concentrations are being routinely annihilated. Ukrainian losses average 2,000 soldiers a day. Okay, now I track this, and The highest that I've seen for Russian losses was something in the 1,500, something 1,600, something like that in a day, and that's crazy high. It was 13 and change today, 12 the day before, a couple days ago. It was down as low as 900 just within the last week. But 2,000 a day, but there's no source. I mean, that's the way that he does this. Okay. And of course, a community note telling the audience what this shameless Kremlin shill, here we're talking about Macgregor, is frying is absolute BS that has not a single credible proof has magically disappeared. So there was a community note that said like, hey, this is problematic, but yet 1.5 million views of outright disinformation piece made out of thin air just because he says it, and then it's passed along and passed along and passed along. Okay, it's kind of like this. Saw this. This was a search. This is the 0.5. It's not really worth a full story. Wow, this is crazy, says Elon Musk, because this person, Naomi, says searches for Donald Trump, only gets news about Kamala Harris. So it looks like it's saying Donald Trump, and when you look down here, all you're seeing is Kamala. Okay. But you can easily replicate that. So I went out here and I typed in Donald Trump and clicked news and saw plenty of news about Donald Trump himself. It was all about Donald, maybe and Kamala, but Donald. And so I went back to this and I thought something's wrong. Well, news about Harris and Donald Trump. Well, that's different. If you put Harris, Donald Trump, then you get lots of stuff about Kamala. Kamala Trump, Kamala Trump, Kamala. Okay, so don't believe everything you see, because what this person probably did was type in Harris and Donald Trump, or Harris Donald Trump, and then you got this down here, but erased the Harris part, and then it spread. Like, you could replicate this, so please be careful when you're looking at these kinds of things. Okay, Anton Gurashenko, Russian propagandists are not happy with the Trump peace plan at all. I talked about this 2 days ago, I think. It was Mike Pompeo's Trump peace plan. Then they come to the conclusion that no result of the U.S. presidential elections will be good for Russia. This is Anton Gurashenko. Let's look at this. The thing is, Mike Pompeo, who was Secretary of State in the Trump administration, released just yesterday, I think, a peaceful Trump's peace plan. And what's in it? Look, let it be that giggling Harris. Okay, you don't need to say giggling Harris. That's not helpful. As president, they're going to seriously give $500 billion to Ukraine, more sanctions to impose on us. Now, Pompeo is right up of Trump's peace plan. That was in it, $500 as a loan. 3% on GDP for NATO, and so on. Not the fact that they're going to succeed, but it will lead to a great war. That's absolutely obvious. But no matter how it is, whether it's the right hemisphere, so to speak, the Republican hemisphere, or the left hemisphere, or vice versa, the Democratic hemisphere, they're still going for a great war with Russia. So I say again, the clowns in this circus can be whatever they want, but they are following one clown, as they bluntly say, to destroy the Russian Federation as a strategic rival of theirs. We must not allow this to happen, regardless of who wins the strange marathon. We should not care at all. Okay, so they are upset about the Trump peace plan in Russian state media, as put forward by Mike Pompeo. Now, whether that's Trump's peace plan or not, I can't really tell. But what Mike Pompeo sketched out, they're not happy about. And that's a good thing. Okay, big story number 3. Kamala Harris is leading Donald Trump in 4 states, according to the latest Fox News favorability poll. Now, the question is whether this is going to be a temporary bump or whether this is going to be a long-term trend. We can't tell yet. 49 to 47 in Wisconsin, battleground state. 49 to 46 in Pennsylvania, battleground state. 51 to 43 in Minnesota, but Minnesota's probably already going to go to Kamala. And 57 to 47 in Michigan, but again, that one's already going to go to Kamala, or whoever the Democrat is if it's not Kamala. It looks like it will probably be Kamala, unfortunately, from the perspective of looking at the strength of the Democratic candidate. It would be far better to go to a convention, have someone emerge, and even if it's Kamala, and have that candidate be stronger, but that's not the way they're going to do it. Okay, when you lose Fox, Saw this in Republicans Against Trump. Fox Business Stuart Varney torched Donald Trump for calling Vice President Harris dumb. Now, you shouldn't do that. Okay, let's listen to what he had to say.
Look, this is anecdotal, but I've been hearing a lot from women. They are not happy with what Trump has been saying and some of the language that he's using about Kamala Harris. It's insulting. Should he tone down his language?
The answer is yes.
I think what we should do is let's look at the message. Are we trying to get our country back on course? Are we trying to stop what's going on at the border? Are we trying to stop the raping and the killing of Americans across the country? Are we tired
But hold on
of
a
Americans
second.
not being...
Okay. I get that he has legitimate policy differences with that, but the point was, don't use the kind of inflammatory language that you're using. Listen to Stuart Varney.
I mean, I've been out and about over the weekend, and when Donald Trump called Kamala Harris dumb, that was a profound mistake, in my opinion. Women react to that kind of thing, and so they should. I mean, don't you think he should tone down the language? And okay, get through to the central message, by all means, but tone the language down. He said he was going to be nice, and then he says, oh, I'm not going to be nice. I think that's a mistake.
It is a mistake, and it's a mistake to say it about either candidate. Tone down the rhetoric, be civil, talk about all your political differences, that's fine, but calling names is both unnecessary and childish. Just don't do that. Okay, last little thing I want to share with you, a typical day in Kharkiv. You'll see this guy, he's just going about his business, making his coffee or whatever, and somebody else spreading, I don't know, ketchup or something, and then you see the shock. That's the shock of a missile, and they're just going about their business, making their food, because that's what they have to endure. All right, my friends, thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the shares, the subscribes. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.